A couple of weeks on now, what has happened? Has there been any changes?
Yes, there have been some changes.
And what are those changes?
Well, I had an endoscope, which a tube was put down my throat. The procedure was about to do three things: to take a biopsy, to take an ultrasound, and to deliver some sort of painkiller specific to deaden around the plexus. The experience was, well, I was dreading the experience. I was hating the idea of something being put down my throat. It terrified me. So I opted for sedation, and I'm glad I did, because I don't even remember anything about it now. It just made me very woozy for a long while afterwards, but the experience was not an unpleasant one.
What was the outcome?
Well, I've had an oncology follow-up. I saw a consultant, and he was keen to get me onto chemotherapy. Apparently, there are three variations of this therapy. It's apparently there was, yeah. The least one was not ready to do anything for me at all. There was a middle option, which I'll go back to in a minute, and the third option, which was the one that they feel obliged to do. Now, the middle option would have been okay if when they did the biopsy, they would have managed to actually attack or pinpoint where the lump was and come up with a viable piece of cancerous tissue. But apparently they didn't. So histology would have said, no, you can't do the middle, the trial group, because we definitely need a positive on that. So that option was out. So the third option is the real tough one, apparently, but they're going to do it with a half measure to see how much I can tolerate it.
Why do they want to administer chemotherapy?
Why do they want to administer chemotherapy? The idea of the chemotherapy is to try and shrink the lumps and make life easier. And hopefully I'll be able to recline properly, which I still can't do.
Are you happy about this?
I have mixed feelings, I must confess. My daughter has reservations about the chemotherapy. Of course she does. She's very worried about it. She pointed out the doctors are on this pathway, that they feel that there are steps to be achieved, and chemotherapy is just one of them. It's just the gravy train. So that's what they're bound to do. But I'm pulled in either direction, because whatever happens, the outcome is still the same. Whether I drift away with pain relief, or drift away with chemotherapy that will prolong my life a little bit more, but will that give me greater discomfort over the longer period of time, or what? I don't know. But whatever's going to happen, I still drift away at the end.
How is it affecting everybody around you?
my daughter's had some background in complementary therapies. Um, she's obviously interested in the whole person approach. Particularly, she's interested in using plant therapy, herbs. She's interested in the emotional, the physical, and the mental and spiritual approach to the whole thing. Of course, it's affecting her, and she's very verbal about it too. And from her point of view, I feel torn in two. Oddly enough, I was saying a while back that if I was to ever be a victim to cancer, I would just go down the. I would not go down. Sorry, I would not go down the chemotherapy route, and let the disease take its own course. But here I am in that exact situation that I feared. Well, not feared, but stressed about maybe. And I feel that I've been put on a sausage machine, and the end product will be the same, whether I fall off the machine or not. If that makes some sort of sense, that analogy, metaphor.
How are you in yourself?
Honestly, confused. I'm so tired and exhausted. I'm at a state of fatigue that I've not experienced in such a long time. It's like staying awake for. I used to work in care where I would start at 8 o'clock in the morning, finish at 10 o'clock at night, then sleep over and start at 8 o'clock in the morning and still be expected to be working at 100% by 8 o'clock the following night. In fact, that's 35 hours straight, even if there was a sleep. And I can tell you that after long periods of, well, it could have been another way of doing it, was to have 10 o'clock till 10 o'clock sleep, from 8 o'clock to 10 o'clock. And by the 10 o'clock in the evening, when you have to do medications and get everything precisely right, or if I'd had to drive a long distance with a patient and coming back and dealing with all that, and the consequences of getting any of that wrong was pretty sinister, pretty dire. That's a sort of a state of exhaustion I'm at the moment, of not had proper sleep for ages. Right now I'm sort of okay, but I have moments where I dip. And the pain can be exhausting as well. It's in the background at the moment. It's not worrying me too much, but once in a while it just reminds me it's there. People probing me with questions is another one that really exhausts me. Now, I know they're trying to help, but it's like having the third degree.
How would you describe the pain?
It is a ball of pain stuck in my side, below the ribs and just above my hips. It's more than a dull ache, although a dull ache would be most welcome sometimes. When it is a dull ache, I push it to the background. It doesn't worry me too much. It's when it just punches me in the side then it's causes some distress. It's usually just a little movement. It could be a little movement to the side, twisting or something like that, leaning forward or whatever. Night times are the worst, of course. And I find that having to go to the loo more frequently than I would normally has taken its toll on my sleep patterns, and I feel exhausted that way. Are you willing to do another podcast? Yes, if I'm fit and able to do so, then I will gladly do one. And if this helps, perhaps it won't help anybody, but it just gives me an indication of what to expect. I would really want to get involved with the Macmillan nurses, because so far I've felt on the outside of it looking in, and I just want to get more involved a bit more, and get some sort of guidance, because I feel so unguided. But it's down to me really by making those steps.
Thank you for agreeing to this interview.